Welcome to the Straight from the Source's Mouth podcast. Frank talk about sex and dating.
Hello, and welcome to episode 34 of season 2. My name is Tamara, and you're listening to the Straight from the Source's Mouth podcast. Today's guest is Chris. He's a fellow podcaster, and he's the co-host of the podcast Dating Intelligence. Today, we're going to talk about dating and sex and just all the stuff that comes up. So we'll just have a conversation and see where it goes. And if you like this episode, be sure to tell your friends about it and rate it as well. Thanks for joining me today, Chris.
Hey, Tamara, how you doing?
I am good.
All right. Your intro is amazing. And I just love the fact that our subject matter today is about dating and sex. I think those are two married subjects that I love to talk about. So this will be fun today.
Yeah. And just to set the stage, we met at PodFest and we had great conversations about this pretty much regularly while we were there too. So
yes, we did. I mean, you were the first one that we actually latched onto right away, and we were like bosom buddies the whole PodFest convention. So I appreciate you so much, and I'm happy to be on your show.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being here. And let's get started we're going to talk about sex first. Just, the first thing we talked about is when to talk about sex. Like for me, I'm still in the online dating thing. I know you have a girlfriend, so you don't have to do that anymore. But when it used to happen for you, or what are your thoughts on it? Because I know with online dating, a lot of women I know feel offended if guys bring up sex right away, and then a lot of men want to just get it out there and know.
Yeah.
So what are your?
So I've found out as lately, especially on my podcast and everything, that a lot of women have a lot of non-negotiables that they like to discuss on their first dates, and mainly, I feel like a lot of guys, on the other hand, they want to obviously know right away if the girl's sexual, or not at that moment, and. So if you're starting out dating people right away and on that first date, I know it's kind of awkward because you're getting to know each other. You're getting to figure each other out. You're just trying to just hopefully ask the right questions, hopefully see if you're fit for each other. All these things go into play. And so when a person throws out, hey, what do you think about sex right away? I kind of think sometimes it could be an icebreaker in a fun way if you time it just right. But if you just come out and lead with it in a very not at the right moment sort of way, it could throw a lot of people off. So I feel for myself that there is no time limit, because I always tell everyone on my podcast that there is no time frame on anything. I feel like it's just on how you feel a rapport with that person. The same way someone might have a one night stand with someone as well. Right away, if they latch onto each other, they're going to know right away if this is a good fit. That's why they sleep with that person that night. So why can't you get that sex talk out of the way at the beginning in a friendly, sort of playful manner, to where it's not going to be so offensive, not so hardcore, not so in your face, not saying that I like to play with toys right off the bat or be whipped, or chained up off the bat. I think you can leave that for a little bit later on, but just to start a conversation about sex, and it always starts a good conversation. And quite frankly, I feel like everyone likes to talk about it or should want to talk about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the should want to. And a lot of people, it can be fun. I guess there's probably needs to be a little attraction if you're meeting in person and you can feel it, which, there's a lot of miscues. So you don't know if the other person can feel it, but ideally, if they feel it. And it's just, to me, it's a compatibility question. If you're someone that's very sexual, you want someone that is as well. And then once you discuss it, it can just be done right there. And
Correct.
Okay, that's one of the compatibility things.
And and like you said, your vibes will tell that at the same time, because if you're missing the cues, and which a lot of people do, they ask the dumbest or the questions at the wrong time. And sometimes I actually am sitting around people doing this, and my mind's just blown. I'm like, what? Like, where did this come from out of left field? It's not going to turn someone on, and it's really going to put someone off. And sure enough, someone will actually just get it from that table and walk away. So, and then the other side of this that you just mentioned, Tamara, on this is the flip side. If you're doing it by texting because you're just meeting someone the first time, or on phone, I feel like a lot of people are a lot bolder, and they'll throw out these little fun questions, and especially guys, because we do this a lot. We just kind of want to see where you're at. We always want to see where the girl is at. So let me throw out a little sexual question to you and see how you handle it. So from my experience, a lot of women will say that they kind of will throw something back out at the guy just to throw him off, because if he's asking that question, they're going to throw something out there just left field and see how he handles it. And most of the time, a guy will just be blown away from it, and they'll kind of shy away from the question again. So there's all these little tests and tricks that you can do in this scenario. And I can say to a lot of you out there that if you're doing this by talking to someone on the phone or online, or by texting after you've met someone on a dating app, you will get a lot of people get bolder and they'll ask a lot of questions up front. So I'm not necessarily saying that's the right time. And there's ways to actually kind of curb those questions to where you don't have to answer them right away as well, to make you not feel so uncomfortable. Because like I said, guys will throw stuff out there just to see where you're at.
Yeah. And I did hear one guy, I'm in a Facebook group with like child-free dating. And the guy was talking about, he'll send like a meme of like a picture of something that's kind of out there just to see how she'll react. And then
did he say why he did that?
A subtle way. It's more subtle.
Yeah.
It's like kind of putting it out there, and then if she like has a good reaction to it and thinks it's funny, if it's kind of like a meme where like, I think it's kind of like a BDSM meme or something like a joke-ish meme. I don't know. He was saying that he's done that before to be more subtle about it. And a lot of the women on that app though, or the group, they're adamant that if a guy talks about sex too soon, they're out.
Yeah. But in his favor though, how did they react in his favor though? What was his response to that? How did they respond?
When they respond well, obviously, then, like if they like it or think it's funny too, then obviously he knows that's a good match for him.
Which also means that he's got, he knows enough at the right time to put that out there. He knows the social cues and he's reading the person really well. I know in the back of his mind, he's probably waiting to put it out there, but he probably waits for the right time, hopefully, to do that, which I find okay. Because once again, I think we should all test the waters just when you're meeting someone out in public for the very first time, not as a, hey, let's meet here because we're going on a date, but just meeting someone out in public in general, either at a bar or even the grocery store or whatever. If you're meeting somewhere, you feel the person out before you ask these real questions and stuff. So.
Yeah. I mean, I was hitting it off with one guy once and we were just texting, and then we kept going back and forth on the time to meet. And then eventually I was like, hey, actually, do you have time tonight? He's like, oh, and he's to send his address. And he's like, just kidding. He's like, or am I? And I was like, I was like, actually, I meant in public, for the first time.
Right.
And then he's like, well, I have a fun to joke about too. And I was like, yeah, exactly.
See, but that's fun.
And we had enough of a rapport.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's fun though, because when he put it out there, yes, he was really being serious, but he put the haha at the end of it just to make you feel a little more comfortable. And all you can say is, let's just meet out. That's great, but we're not doing that. So, but some people really take offense to that because they're not reading the cues and it was just the wrong timing. One of my favorite things to do, like I said, when I'm out back in the day when I was single, my girlfriend can attest to this, is that I will push the boundaries, and I will be very, because I'm a playful person and I love sitting with women. I love flirting, but I also love just seeing how far I can go without being too offensive, but also doing a fun, playful way. And I usually get pretty good response with that because they know that, oh my God, it's Chris. He's a good guy. He's opened them up. They feel comfortable around me. And that's when I start throwing out those fun questions. I might have thrown out a fun question to you, Tamara, I think, right? Probably.
Yeah, for sure.
I do it all the time.
We went right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went right to it.
It's always fun that way. You want to see where you stand, right? You want to see where the other person's at and where you stand, but you have to do it tactfully and tastefully.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the problems for women too, the societal thing, the double standard, all that, where women are supposed to be good. And like, if two people have sex, they blame the woman, so we're more cautious. Other women generally are more cautious. I'm sure women in general about what society is going to think or what the guy is going to think. So they have to play the good girl lead or, in a texting and on the apps and stuff. So they make sure the guy doesn't disrespect them or whatever. So there's a lot of that going on too. Even if they want to, they have to act like they don't want to. But
I do like a woman who will actually, kind of play back. I do like a woman who, she's a very strong, independent woman who is just in the know of what she wants just as much as what the guy wants. And it's funny when you're at that place, like you just said, where it's almost like each person's sizing each other up to determine, okay, what is this person thinking, or what is he thinking, or what is she thinking? And at the same time, it could be the woman who's actually more the alpha going, this is what I want, and this is where I'm going with this, and let's see how he handles it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely, even though I have a podcast about this and I freely talk about it and I admit that I have plenty of sex, but I'm not one to like go up and say like, let's do this.
Right.
So I'm definitely more on the shy side, like let the guy take charge.
Right. Oh, I've had a lot of women be very bold to me and come up to me right away. And some like, my mind is blown. I was out the other night at some event on Thursday in LA, and it's just like, my mind was blown with some of the women, what they come up and say to you. And I'm just like, holy crap, are you kidding me? And I just kind of smile up and I get a little nervous because I'm like, damn, this is a little too forward for me. So, but I like the attention. Don't get me wrong. I love the attention, but there's a lot of women out there when they see you, they go right for what they want. And once again, I appreciate that fact because they know exactly what they're doing. They know what they want, and they're not afraid to share or show. And that's one thing that
Yeah.
always, I tell a lot of women, for myself, because for you guys listening to the show, one of the biggest things that I do is I'm an advocate for women. I just want guys to be better for their women and how to teach women how to handle guys who are being idiots and vice versa. One of the things I tell women is when they put themselves out there, I never want you to feel regret or guilt about it. That's one thing. When they come to me, they go, yeah, I did this. And they go, but I feel really guilty. And I go, why do you feel guilty? It's something that you wanted to do. So just own it, and deal with it, and just, it's okay. It's, we all do shit that we want to do, but why do we have to digress and feel so ashamed about it when we should just be feeling more powerful and strong about it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was the whole reason I started this, was to eliminate the double standard, normalize sex. Women like it just as much as men. And, there's different versions of, a friend used to joke that she was all talk and no action.
Was
and then
she
was
though?
saying
Was
I was
she?
all action. Yeah. And then she was saying I was all action and no talk.
Yeah, I love that. You're like
yeah.
silent but deadly. Look at you, Tamara. Silent but deadly. I love it. I mean, it's so much better because in theory, that's where the term tease comes from. If she's all talk and just doesn't follow through, now you're considered a tease. So I don't know what's worse. If you're just putting yourself there and just doing it, or just teasing people, and now people are doubly upset with you because you're not being authentic.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, because I have this podcast, people assume I'm the kind going out there and saying I want sex, or like taking charge about it. And like, I don't know, it's just funny having a podcast like this. People's assumptions and perceptions of you.
Well, I'm glad you're doing it.
I'm spreading the word for.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing it. I'm glad you're putting yourself out there, because first and foremost, that's why this podcast works for you, because you're putting yourself out there first. So, but once again, I feel like for me, a lot of women who are listening to this right now, if that's where you're at, because we're all in different stages of our lives, as we all know. There's our playful time, there's our serious time, there's I want my alone time, but there's I just want to just go out there and just sow my seeds, and so whatever you're doing at the time, just own it, love it, and be happy. No regrets, right?
Yeah. And that's, definitely. And if people would stop judging each other and labeling each other, and people would be more comfortable.
Always more comfortable. So, all right, well, what's going on with you? Well, I guess I'm going to turn this on you now. So let's see this. How's your sex life going, Tamara? You've been putting yourself out there. I know you've probably been running around, but having a good time and owning it, correct?
Yes.
Good.
Well, I got COVID after the after the conference, as we talked about.
That's
so
right.
I have not, because I have had COVID and didn't want to spread it.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you own up to your stuff, though. So I think a lot more people need to own up to it. And I don't know why there's such a stigmata on fear on why we have to pretend to be so good or so this or so that, when, it's just, everyone's just being who they are most of the time. Just be, just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Live life.
Well, and I was talking to one of the guys at the conference, and I mentioned that I hit it off with a guy who was, a lot younger and shorter and different race and like all this stuff. And we just had an amazing connection. And he wanted to see my profile and ask questions about his own profile. And he's like, "Oh, I wouldn't go for you. You're older than me." And
if he didn't meet you in person, right?
Yeah. And he assumed I was much younger than my age, but he was like, "Oh, I would have swiped left because of your age." and then he's like, "Oh, I should probably be more open." I was like, yeah. Like, there are plenty of women that look much younger than their age, that if they're active, they're doing all this stuff. It's about the connection,
right?
Not the perception of, what you think you should have, and then he's not getting very many dates because he wants to date younger. And not that, you can't date younger, but like, why would you keep pursuing people that aren't necessarily interested if you're not getting a lot of swipes?
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
The aperture, and there are plenty of us women that look much younger.
He just lowered its percentages and narrowed the field. But now, thanks to you, you've opened up a whole new slew of probably dating opportunities for him as well. I had this woman on our show. I think she was probably like 4 episodes ago, but she is polyamorous, and she actually is now dating younger guys who are probably in their mid-20s. I think she's like 40 something. She's dating guys in her mid-20s, and she's enjoying life. She's having the best time of her life because she's not putting any labels on anything, and she's not feeling any remorse or any regret. She goes, at this moment in my time of my life, I want to have fun. I want to just, have sex, and I want to meet a lot of different people. And quite frankly, she honestly said that her maturity level and their maturity level for where she's at right now matches up so well, because she doesn't want to take things too serious. She wants a guy who's kind of aloof and goofy and fun, and it's making her happy. So I was very happy for her for actually doing that. And she said, I'm not
Yeah.
even looking back right now. And she goes, I've been with the older guys, and they're just right now, just not for what I need because they're too serious or they're too this and that. So I just feel like there is no right or wrong when it comes to dating ages or anything like that. If you're in that right space to do it at that time and it's what you need.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's definitely just, especially if you meet in person, you can tell, if you have a connection or
Yes.
not, it's just, you just have it and there's no denying it.
Right.
And that's the person you hang out with for as long as you want to hang out with them.
And that's why it worked for you guys
forever.
when you met him. He's younger, but that's why it worked because he met you in person. You have an amazing personality and he was attracted to that. So like you said, if it was on paper, he wouldn't have matched up to you because he just looked at the age. And so we have to sometimes just forget about all these things that are on paper and just go for what you think is in front of you that actually matches up for you at that moment. So kudos to him for giving it a chance, and kudos for you for helping him out on that chance.
Yeah. And actually, yeah, never mind. We're talking about two different people if we don't know.
Right.
Like, it was a random guy that was next to me.
Got it.
Not the guy you
okay.
you met.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Regardless though, it's just going back.
The same exact scenario. I mean, same sentiment.
Right. I've had a younger bunch of younger girls as of late, because no one can really tell how old I actually am. So it's kind of flattering at the same time. And so when I talk to them, they just assume that I'm very close to their age as well. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm not saying a word just because, like you said, you don't want to, if you're just having a conversation, you don't want them to start having this thought in their brain on looking at you differently just because they know of an age or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I made the mistake of, I started doing stand-up comedy a few years ago, and I made the mistake of mentioning my age early on in the set. Like, that's the first thing I say. I was like, crap. I was like, if I can get away with it, why am, and then I share the video with people. So then they automatically know my age. That was the dumbest thing ever. And it's on YouTube.
Well,
so there's no stopping it.
You might have to scrape that one off of YouTube then, basically. So, so what are your feelings on the first date then? What are your thoughts on it? You feel like people should just go for it?
Well, I used to be more someone that not on the first date, no matter what. But then I've discovered it's hot and heavy, you're making out, you're doing all this stuff. And then you're like, oh wait, I should be a good girl and not do it on the first date. And then when you get together the next time or two, then they already know it's going to happen. So they skip the foreplay and the fun part and the making out. And had I just done it the first night when we were already in that mode, it would have been much better. So I am rethinking and I saw an article where Australian women supposedly sleep with people the first date. So I'm like, they may have something there, because especially if you're compatible, you're enjoying it, you're touching and making out. Like, I don't know.
Well, I'm on
definitely not.
This is another subject that we've discussed on my show, for the fact that you're right on some of that part, that I feel like guys are more interested when they have to kind of, when the girls slowly peel the layers off when it comes to sex and to what, versus just jumping in the first time. But once again, if it's compatible, this is why I feel like also I'm a believer of one night stands. If it ever happens, the times that it has happened in my life, because those are the girls that off of my checklist, that I was just like, okay, this girl is someone that I feel like I can probably pursue a little bit longer, not just for tonight. Otherwise, for myself, I just won't do that with something like that, just because I respect women enough to be like, look, if I'm going to sleep with you tonight, then I also want to know that I can actually know you a little bit more down the road. And so if that happens, these are girls that I've been out with for a long time or something. But otherwise, I kind of like the intrigue. It keeps a guy interested. And like you said, if you peel all the layers off in one showing, then what do you have left to show? Nothing. And guys get disinterested pretty fast when it comes to that.
Yeah. And that's why I used to definitely say no on the first date. Mm-hmm. And, I pretty much never did on the first date for that reason. Yeah. And then if you do it too soon, but then if there's a lot of chemistry or just interest or, connection, then they're probably going to stick around, or they weren't the right person. I don't know. Because I had one guy say, even no matter when you have sex, if they'll either leave or stay.
Right.
So it's like, if they were the right person, they stay. And if they weren't, depending on when you had sex, it's still going to, and
if the sex is really good, they're going to stay regardless. So let's just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. But also, ladies out there, don't get any of this wrong, because once again, it's like, if you're in that mode of just wanting just to have sex and have fun, then, do those one night stands and just don't look back. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm a firm believer of that as well, because it's a two-way street. Why does the guy get to feel like he gets to lead the show and then all of a sudden gets to leave and the girl's hurt? Vice versa, if the girl leads. And so every now and then a guy's kind of like, have you ever seen a guy go, damn, like I feel kind of strange because she just walked out on me. It's like, it's a rare occurrence, but it does happen though.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And nowadays, I think the younger generation too, they know what they want, at least, from what I've heard, that they will, if they want to, they will,
Yes,
and they don't care about it anymore.
Right.
Like it's the older generation that's still hung up on all this.
Well, the younger generation's so desensitized because of everything online now. That's why too. So it's just like, what do you do? I know it's just, and we actually had a conversation. And I don't even think this was on air. It's with a friend where we were talking about the bar of how, let's say like a 13-year-old boy, right? And he's online looking at porn or whatever like that already. So he's already so far ahead of our generation on what he wants because he sees it online. And so when a girl comes up to him, he's already expecting all these massive like sexual things that this girl should be doing. And if the girl's looking at this as well at that young age, she's already thinking, I have to do all of these extra things just to keep this boy interested in me. So there is no, kind of like growth period here. It's like all or nothing now, I feel like, with these kids as well.
Yeah. And I read a book where they talked about the younger generation, they just get like blackout drunk and just get together and hang out and, do what they're going to do. And they don't even remember it.
Right. I think that's a generational thing.
But they feel like they had to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
I still think it's probably still going on. Somebody's probably in their 70s still doing that right now. Probably going, geez, I woke up. What the hell just happened? So, right.
Well, this book was specifically like millennials, like, because there's so much pressure to do it and no one's telling them like the right stuff. They just see, like you said, all the online, all the porn, all the stuff that's like not the intimacy part of it. And so they don't want to do it, but they feel like they should. So they drink enough to be able to do it.
Well,
is the way the book talks about it. That's why Tinder
turned into, it's not a real dating app anymore. It's turned into just a fuck app. And basically, I mean, the whole Netflix and chill thing. I mean, think about that at our age. What was that called back then? I mean, just being able just to say, hey, you want to Netflix and chill? It's just like, that's like the guy saying, here's my house number. You want to come on over? It's just as simple as that. But they're just so much more bolder nowadays, and they just take the chances. And the thing is that it's a thing. People are interested in just hookups.
Yeah. And sometimes I wonder, I mean, not that it's like you said, if people want to do that, by all means do that.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully it's people that are wanting to do that do that, and not out of some kind of pressure or thinking like, to fit it in or something like that. But yeah, like as you said earlier, just everyone doing what they want to do authentically and really want to do.
Exactly. And not feeling any regrets or any remorse. It's just, there's so many psychological pressures when it comes to that stuff. So,
yeah. Do you want to, it's totally switching subjects. Do you want to talk a bit about your podcast? Like just,
well, of course I'll talk about my podcast, Tamara, which I got to have you on one day. So my podcast, it's like I said, it's a relationship podcast. I've been doing it for 2 years. So I have a co-host. Her name is Jamie Villamore. She's an international model. She's unbelievably amazing. And she's just hit the right stride as my co-host now. Our banter back and forth is incredible. And the guests that we normally have on our show are anywhere from doctors to, like this past episode, we had a dominatrix on the show. And for the first time, this dominatrix decided to do our show. And she's like, I've never done a podcast before. I've never spoken on air before. And so she was a little nervous, but I opened her up like maybe 10 minutes in, and she was flying from that point on. So it was a great episode. And we have a lot of influencers on there as well. The point of the show for me is just basically, like I said, I'm an advocate for women. I'm a guy who just knows girls really well. And I feel like I know relationships well due to this fact. So one of the biggest things on why I did it as well is because a lot of women who go through their dating issues or marital issues or whatever with guys, it's always, if you really think about it, it's the same through line all the time. If I made like a sheet with like the top 3 things that guys do, these are the top 3 things that every girl with every problem with their guy has. And it's very easy to solve. The problem is that they make it this big old, like, it's the biggest problem, woe is me thing in the world, that I sit them down and go, this is what you do. This is how you fix it. And this is how they'll respond. And they're like, they do it, they listen, and the response, and they come back to me and go, it worked. Wow. How the hell did you do that? I go, because I'm a guy. It's like, it's so simple. We're very easy creatures. All we want is sex. We just want attention, and we have egos. And so I always tell the women, it's like, once the guy lets go of their ego, that's when you know you have a good guy. for myself. So that's why I'm an advocate for women. I want to teach guys how to be better guys for women and all that stuff. And that's what we do on the show. So we do a lot of different topics, a lot of fun topics, and we try to go across the board. And guys out there right now, when you hear the word dating intelligence, people like who are married, they'll use the first thought they go is, well, we're married, we're not dating. I go, yeah, you should be dating all the time. Dating intelligence is just a play on words. It's like you should be dating every time of your life. I don't care if you're married, divorced, single, whatever, you should be dating all the time. And we talk about all walks of life in relationship stuff going on.
Yeah, like dating is meant to be fun and spontaneous,
Yep.
or not necessarily spontaneous, but fun. And and treat it like you're still in the honeymoon
That's
phase
correct.
and enjoying each other.
And we all have the
date
same
nights.
problems. We all have the same, we all want to know what our partner's fantasies are. We all want to know, like, when we're sick, how they take care of us, or do you want to be taken care of? When they're traveling, how do couples travel, or first time people traveling together? There's all these stories that go out there, and we all share similar things. There's stories on fights, there's stories on, one of my favorite ones was chivalry. Like I called it My Rivalry with Chivalry, because I feel personally that chivalry is dying. I feel like guys are not doing things that they used to do because it's so much easier. Like, for instance, opening a woman's door, because now the doors are so easy to open with a keyless, whatever entry. They don't go to that door and open up anymore. They don't open up doors for women anymore to walk in. And quite frankly, with the Me Too movement, women just have this thing now where it's very hard for a guy to be a guy without feeling that they're not letting the woman be a woman. Does that mean?
Yeah. Well, and for sure. There's some women that don't like it, some do, and you never know which one is which
Right.
until it happens.
Yeah,
in the
that's
moment.
true. And I've had
And they
a
have to
few, like
guess.
even like friends of mine, where I try to, they're like, they go, Chris, I got this. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll step back. But then at the same time, I'm not going to stop being who I am. I will still open that door 20 times for that same woman who said that, because that's how I am. So I'm not going to change my ways just because, I'm going to let you be you. Don't get me wrong, because I want you to be you. And I love that. I want you to be powerful and strong and, and all that stuff too. But I also know how my mom raised me. And it's just, etiquette's etiquette.
Yeah. Yeah. I still love chivalry. I mean, obviously, we're of a generation that had it,
Yeah.
and I still appreciate I was dating a guy who was younger and was like, "You're equal, right?" And he was like, "I'm carrying my own luggage." I'm like, "Seriously, dude." I'm like,
I am, but not like that.
yeah, like I can carry it, but
Yeah.
I don't want
See, that's
to.
the stuff
So,
that bothers me right there, because that's just, but once again, a lot of, this is all taught from when we were kids. I feel like, right? It's one of those things where if your parents still don't teach you this, you're never going to do it on your own unless you just kind of slowly start seeing other people doing it. You just pick up the cues that way. Like I still kick myself every now and then when my girlfriend and I go out, and I go to my side of the door and she goes her side, and I go, oh, I didn't get her door. But then I go, well, it's keyless entry. Click, click, door's open. But, but then there's those times I still pull her chair out and things like that as well. But I still get those little ticks like, oh, I should be doing a little bit more.
yeah. It's definitely crazy world out there. I mean, just, and you never know, like we said, you cannot tell. I mean, unless you're obviously in a relationship, and you can like figure that out together. Like I definitely, I just had to start asking the one guy, I'm like, will you carry this for me? Or will you do this? Like, cause he just was, I don't know, didn't believe in it, was the whole equal thing. But yeah. All right. Well, we are getting close to the end. So I just wanted to see if you had any like final comments. I know you just talked about your podcast. So if there's anything we left out there or anything from the conversation we had.
No, this is a great conversation, great topic, dating and when to ask, talk about sex on the first date, or just in dating in general. So just a recap, guys, virtually there is no time limit. Like I live my life by no time limit. I don't go by any rules. I don't play any games. If you feel like you want to ask something, just ask it. Because one of the biggest things that I tell everyone, especially in life, on my podcast or in wherever, I say, if you ask them a question, the only thing that they can respond with is a yes or a no. And at least you put it out there. So there's one thing that I do, Tamara, is that I play this game on my very first date, usually around the second date. I call it truth or honesty. Instead of truth or dare, we play truth or honesty. And I ask truthful and honest questions. And so the person has to respond. And you can ask whatever you want to ask if they're going to play it with you. And so the bad part of it is that most people want to know, obviously, the big question is like, so how many guys you slept with, how many girls you slept with, and when they respond, if they want to answer that, you can trust this person and someone like the reason why I play this is because I want the women to know that I have dated or now that I'm with is that I communicate well and I'm very open, and whatever you're going to tell me, it's not going to bother me. And so I play this game, truth or honesty, just to put those hard to ask questions out there that you want to know about someone and get their response on how they feel about it. Because there's nothing worse with starting to date someone and going down the road and all of a sudden you feel like, well, I don't like this or I don't like that, and you're just like, well, geez, I kind of like doing that. And now I don't know if I like you anymore or if we can't do that ever. So you're missing on this whole opportunity of getting all these questions out there early because people are afraid to ask.
Yeah, like the deal breakers, non-negotiables, if you just put them out front. I do have one thing to say about the numbers thing. I totally do not agree with telling numbers anymore. Like it's no one's business, and I don't. Yeah,
and I agree with you on that, 100%. But I was just throwing that out there as I was saying, a lot of people, younger, they always people want to know. It's just like it's a stupid thing, and I'm like, my motto is, it's just like, look, I just met you now, and from this point on, moving forward, that's all I care about. I don't care about your past because we all have a past, and that's how I view it. So if you threw out a 50,000, I'm still going to look at you and say the same thing because it doesn't bother me, because I'm like, I'm sitting here with you for a reason, because I like you. That's why I'm here. So regardless of what your past is, we move forward from this point on. It's just a part of,
and I guess I was going to say part of the double standard. I could be able to own it too, or people should own it. So there's both sides of it.
Right. But you want to be delicate because some people just can't handle some stuff, man, out there, can they? They're just so sensitive. Oh my God.
Yeah. All right. Well, finish your final thought.
No, that was it. So I was just going to let everyone know out there that, just be your true self, just be your authentic self. And if that person that you're sitting across from the table with really and truly likes you and wants to be with you, then they'll take you for who you are, and everything, every part of your life, every part of you, they will accept you.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. And I've heard that you can't say the wrong person or the wrong thing to the right person. So I like that as well.
And the best part is when you try to tell something that you feel is so heinous, and they look at you and go, "Oh, we still love you," and you're like, "Oh, thank God."
Yes, it's a relief.
It's such a relief, right? It's like this huge weight gets lifted off your shoulders. So just share, people, because the worst they can do is just say, "I don't agree with that," or "I agree with that." But nothing worse than that.
For sure. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much for being on. This was great talking to you and seeing you again.
You too.
So thanks for having me, or thanks for being on. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for being on the show. And if you liked it, be sure to tell your friends about it and check out Dating Intelligence.
Yes, please. You can find us on YouTube and at Dating Intelligence on social media.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again.
Thanks, Tamara.
All right. Bye.
Frank Talk, Sex and Dating educates.